Hey everybody, welcome back to Resin Bell. May the 4th be with you. Just kidding everybody, it's April 1st and April Fools. So today I'm going to be sharing with you these huge Mickey ears. I'm planning on going to Disney World in June, and so I had to make some custom Mickey Mouse ears. We are very excited to go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disney World in Orlando, Florida. And so these are going to be perfect. I think they're going to fit in very well there. And I can't wait to show you how I did it. I tried to document the process as best I could. It's not really a how-to, but kind of like a craft along with me, because I've never done anything like this. So it was all just kind of figuring it out as I went along. And yeah, I think they turned out pretty good. We've got a Dianoga over here, and over here we have a Mynock with the famous fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. So if you want to see how I made these Mickey ears, these giant Mickey ears, then stay tuned, and may the 4th be with you every day of the year. Alright, to start off with, I ordered some of these double-sided plastic Christmas balls from Amazon. And they're the two halves that fit together. They ended up being a lot bigger than I had originally planned, but you know, I had them, so I was just going to work with it. And so the first thing I had to do was cut off the bottom, because I'm only going to use half of it, so it's going to be a half globe kind of ear. The back of the ear is going to be flat. So I had to cut off the bottom of the Christmas ball with, you know, you can use a Dremel tool or, you know, any kind of a cutoff wheel or anything like that. So I just cut that part off so that it can sit flat onto the headband. Now the headband I chose is a very wide headband because I knew it needed to be pretty sturdy. These are going to be a little heavier than your average Mickey ears, so I wanted the headband to be nice and wide. So just cut the bottoms of those Christmas ornaments off, and then I have these nice globes to create a diorama inside of. And you can see when you cut it off, it kind of melts the plastic a little bit, and you can see how it kind of melts it up and makes these little beads of plastic. Those come off pretty easily, either by just pulling on them, or you can take a nail file and file the edges of the plastic. That's what I did. So the next thing I did was I just cut out some circles because I need something to form the base to create the diorama on, and so that worked out pretty well. Just a little cardboard base. So then I also needed a back, so I just set the Christmas ball on top of some cardboard and then traced around it so that I would have a back for each of my ears, and you know, straight across the bottom. And in hindsight, I should have made the bottom more rounded for the cardboard, but I figured out how to do that later. So for the background of the Dianoga diorama, say that 10 times fast, I just cut out strips of cardboard to kind of create that trash compactor, you know, texture on the wall behind the Dianoga. And then I'm going to be using some Sculpting 3 clay to create the Dianoga and the Mynock for the ears, and some aluminum foil, tin foil, however you call it. Everybody calls it something different. So here I've got the cardboard background all glued together with some hot glue, and just double checking it, making sure the ends fit inside. Here I've already painted the background and given it some weathering with some dark grays and blacks. And I have created the basis for the form for my Dianoga out of the aluminum foil. And I'm just testing it, make sure that it fits in that space pretty well. And that it will fit in that space after I've put the clay on. So just kind of eyeballing that. So obviously I did not did not record the entire process, but you know, just little clips throughout the process. Here I've already got the clay on, the main section of clay, and started putting the tentacles on it. The eyeball is actually just a extra piece, you know, one of my extra pours from my resin crafts. And so I just picked that out of my bin of parts and pieces, and I will be painting that later. It's really just there for, you know, the form. And so I think this is turning out pretty good. I'm not the best sculptor in the world, but, you know, it's getting there. It was a fun process. And I usually wear gloves when I use Sculpey 3. You don't have to, but I hate that oily, you know, substance that gets on your fingers. So I try to wear gloves if I can. Some days I can, some days I can't. So that's the main body there. So I'm pretty happy with how that's turning out. So here I think I've just about finished this one, and added all the detailing and, you know, texture that I want to add. Added a couple more tentacles on the sides of the eyeball, and I think he's coming along pretty well. So I created some tentacles. They're not the greatest. They're just meant to be representational because there's going to be a lot inside this little diorama. So those are my little tentacles for the Dianoga. And then I baked it, and after it was baked, I used some acrylic paint as a wash, kind of some gray and black acrylic paint to wash over the entire thing, just to give it some interest and texture. I also added a base coat of white to the eyeball, and I think I put on a couple more layers of the white paint to get it to, you know, just an even color before I painted the eyeball as well. So here I've got the eyeball painted, you can see, and everything's looking pretty much like I wanted it to look, and pretty happy with how that turned out. So I totally lucked out on these at the Dollar Tree. They had these in their toy section. These are just like parts and pieces for action figures and stuff, but they immediately made me think of the trash in the trash compactor. These are actually what gave me the idea to create the Dianoga. So it's kind of crazy. Those were actually the leaping point to make my ears. So I just, those, you know, they all look like new plastic. So I just took some acrylic washes and added some white acrylic wash and some black acrylic wash, some dark gray wash, just over all the pieces, just to make it look like they're old and used and not brand new plastic. Looks like I got more on my fingers than I got on the pieces, but that's how it goes. So this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looked like after. So just adding some grime and grunge to the pieces. So again, made a little bit of a leap here. I got all the pieces hot glued on, added a little extra hot glue at the bottom so that you could see it. That is kind of to represent the water layer. So once you've got all that put on, and you can pop that little cover on there, and you've got a little round diorama inside. So I really like how that's coming along. I think that's going to look cool. And yeah. Now I've just got to figure out how to make the bottom rounded so that it will fit onto my headband, which I did figure out, but I forgot to film it, so don't have that footage. But I'm working on the Mynock on the other side. Just same process. It has an aluminum foil center. The wings are some wire strips with some tin foil over the top of them, and then the clay on top of that. The Millennium Falcon was actually a chocolate mold that I picked up at a thrift store a while back, and I just poured some resin into it and created a little gray, dark gray Millennium Falcon, and then I just took some white paint and did a wash over it, like a light dry brushing. Not a wash, a dry brushing over the top, and it made all the details stand out really good. And then the cardboard back is the same as the other one, only I just painted it black and then put some white paint dots on it to create the space background. And then that one was finished. This one's about done. Just added a few more details to it to make it pop as well. So here's some pictures of the finished pieces. And the bottoms I actually took some foam, some craft foam, and created some wedges on the sides to create a kind of rounded base underneath, and I wish I had remembered to film that to show you guys, but it was a pretty simple process just to build up the sides. So then I covered the headband with some Star Wars fabric that I picked up at Joann's, and yeah, it just kind of all came together. Put some trim over the edges around the dioramas to hide, you know, any of the edges that were showing. So these did turn out a little bit heavy, and so if you're planning on making something like this, I would advise you to, you know, make it with lighter materials than I did, or at least, you know, they're not going to be for all day wear, they're going to be for display purposes only. Okay, so thanks so much for watching, everybody. Here's my finished Mickey ears on my head, and I appreciate you for watching, and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!